Where are the Trump supporters at? Go and drop a MAGA down below. Oh, this guy's name is Bo with a profile picture of a SUV. Well, we need to get Bo up here. Bo, hop in that queue. Jay, you just called me a sissy boy in the chat. That wasn't too nice, Jay.
Oh no,
Have some civility.
I was just repeating what the homie said. It was kind of funny.
Okay, are you MAGA?
Yes, deep.
So do you like typically consider yourself homies with like Confederates? Is that
No, it's just a figure of speech. The homie. I don't know his name or
all
who he
right,
is. It's just a
all right,
figure of speech.
all right.
You can
Well,
understand that, right?
yeah. Before we hop
Okay.
into our debate, I got to thank Veteran for the $50 super chat over on YouTube. Veteran says, fighting the impossible fight. Veteran, you've been here 3 days in a row. I'm so good to have you in here with us today again. I want to see so much love for Veteran down below in the comment section. Thank you for the $50 donation. Show some love to Veteran right now. Take it away. Why are you MAGA?
Who? Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking to your veteran guy. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm just,
this veteran is a true American patriot. He is not MAGA.
oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Thank him for his service, man. We appreciate all the good things he did for this great nation. I'm MAGA because I support POTUS and I support any president that wants the well-being of the nation, and that's pretty much it. I kind of support where the direction of where the country's heading.
Okay. So fascism is a direction the country's heading in that you support and that you think is for the well-being of the nation.
I don't see it as fascism. I think I live my everyday life as free as possible, and I don't see fascism on a daily basis whatsoever.
I think that we see fascism in the Trump administration.
Can you give me something that relates to fascism in the Trump administration?
For sure. So there was, I typically use like the 14 defining characteristics of fascism. I think that Trump hits all 14. Should we go over them?
Well, you could give me the main ones that you can point out. We don't need to go deep into all 14, but some that you can relate to.
I mean, sure. Like the 14th tenet of fascism is fraudulent elections. He admitted to trying to rig the election in 2020 when he attempted to steal it from Biden. The 11th is a disdain for intellectuals and the arts. He's appointed individuals into his cabinet, such as RFK, that are not medical professionals. In fact, RFK said earlier today that he's not somebody individuals should be going to medical advice for, even though he's a secretary of health. Alongside him, cutting funding to schools, funding to news networks, and wanting to abolish the Federal Department of Education. 10th is labor power suppressed, is tax policies estimated to reduce and suppress the purchasing power of every American grossing under $395,000 per year. That's according to the Institute on Taxation and Economics.
Okay.
7th is obsession with national security. He's so obsessed with national security that he's willing to deport citizens and undocumented migrants illegally. 8th is religion and government intertwined. He ran on putting God back in schools and putting God back into the country.
Okay.
4th is supremacy of the military. Even though we have the largest military expenditure by around $500 billion comparing to the second nation who's closest, he still wants to fund it more.
Okay.
3 is identification of enemies as a unifying cause. He's identified trans individuals as enemies as a unifying cause. The third largest, category that Republicans spent their money on prior to the election to push propaganda was on trans people, even though they only account for 0.01% of the overall American populace. And he's also identified DEI as an enemy to build a unifying cause. He's identified undocumented migrants as an enemy to build a unifying cause. Point number 2 is disdain for human rights. He straight up said that he does not think that undocumented migrants deserve access to their human right to due process. And even though the Supreme Court has ruled that, well, you can't do that, that's unconstitutional, that's illegal, such as in his deportation of Abrigo Garcia, he says that he doesn't care at all. So, I mean, like, there's a couple tenets of fascism right there.
Yeah, no, those are all really good points that you made. I appreciate you laying them out so nicely, and there are some that I can't agree with you on, and but there are two sides to the coin, and I don't feel like, as an American born and raised here, I don't feel like I live in a fascist society whatsoever.
Okay, well, I gave you the facts, or giving me your feelings.
Yeah. But the facts are that my everyday life are facts, and I don't see it at all.
So, can you contest the facts that I just shared with you? Can you tell me why I'm
Uh,
wrong?
you know what? I can contest some of the facts that when you're
Anyways, before I
saying
work.
So when it comes to the Garcia fellow, I mean, he came into the country illegally. DEI is it's a systematical thing to not to hire people based on gender, race, not qualifications. There are people that are actually more qualified than people that are being hired because of their race or gender. That is a fact that there are more qualified people that happen to be white or that happen to be of European descent, I should say, that are more qualified than a black person or a Latino person or an Asian person or an Indian person. So DEI in itself is not something that's productive necessarily. It's actually counterproductive because what you're doing is you're taking away opportunity from hardworking white people.
Is your counter argument that white people are more qualified than black people?
No, that's not my counter argument. What I'm saying is that there's people that are more qualified than others, but don't get positions because of DEI.
Okay.
Can you
So
agree
But
on
you're
that?
yeah,
so you're
he's pushing the
so you're
point that like
sorry, one second, Mark. I put you on mute. I just want to talk to one person at a time. I'm sorry, man. So you're wrong about what DI is. We could have that conversation, but it's not even relevant to the conversation. The reason it's not relevant to the conversation,
I don't want to focus just on DEI because I see where you're going with that. I think
bro,
DEI is
you don't fucking know where I'm going at all because you're not letting me speak. Come on.
yeah, but no, DEI is a great thing. It is a great thing, but is it fair? I don't think it's fair.
Hey,
I don't think it's fair at all.
Jay,
Right?
you're wrong about what DI is. Okay, and
So
I
what
could
is?
correct you if you'd like
Go
me
ahead.
to,
I'd like to.
but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not even relevant to the reason I said he's using DEI as a unifying cause to shit on people and build an enemy. So the reason I said that is because, for instance, when we had the plane crash in Washington, D.C., he blamed it on DEI. When we had a helicopter go down, guess what? It was DEI. Something's gone wrong with the country, it's DEI's fault. Oh, California, why are their taxes so high? Why is their quality of life so low? Why is their prices so high? It's DEI. So he's essentially like replaced the N-word with DEI, and he's used it to attack and demonize anything that he deems as bad, even when DEI has absolutely nothing to do with a given scenario.
Okay.
So, like, I could correct you on why you're wrong about your conceptions of what DI even is, but more so my point is just describing that if he sees something he doesn't like, he just calls it DEI.
Yeah, but but we can both agree that DEI was set up to give opportunities to people that who may not be qualified.
That's not true, but once again, like that's
That's
I'm
not
trying to
true,
find
but
a way. I'm
it is
trying to
true,
find a
though,
way
right?
to verbally clarify what I'm saying.
No, but it is
When
true.
something bad, it's not. When something
Yes.
bad happens, he just says it was caused by DEI.
Okay. Also,
That's the issue that I'm trying to get you to recognize.
yeah, but I can't recognize that because the way I
How was the
understand
plane
it-
crash in Washington D.C. caused by DEI?
well, maybe the person wasn't qualified for the position and was hired through
Who were
DEI.
they?
I mean, that could be the case.
Oh, it could be the case. So you're saying that there's merely a possible explanation of why he said what he said, but you don't know definitively.
No, I don't know, but I do know that.
Oh,
DEI
okay,
program-
okay. So in other words, you actually don't know that that was caused by DEI.
Well,
This is like saying, oh, well,
Do
guess
you know
what?
if
Last
it
night
was
Trump
caused-
murdered somebody.
Do you
Well, it's
know if it was
possible that the
caused
person
by
he murdered. No,
Do you know if it was
Jay.
caused by
I'm gonna,
DEI, sir?
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give you an example of the logic you're using to demonstrate why it's wrong. Imagine
sir.
Trump literally murdered somebody last night. Is it possible the person that he murdered was trying to kill his wife?
Possibly.
So therefore, he wasn't wrong in literally murdering somebody.
Possibly. What a
This is
wonderful
logically equivalent to your position that it's possible that the individual driving the plane was hired by DEI and underqualified. So then there's nothing wrong with him blaming it on DEI. Do you see the issues with your logic there, Jay?
I see the issues, but once again, we're getting
Precisely.
we're getting hyper focused on this. But let's continue on with some of the other things that you mentioned, like for example, lowering tax cuts. And how do you feel about no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and returning more money into hardworking Americans? Do you believe that the Americans deserve that or no?
So I agree with your first 2 points, no tax on tips and no tax on overtimes. I think that's a good idea. However,
That's
your
pretty
third
cool,
point
right?
is demonstrably false of returning more money into the hardworking pockets of Americans. See, the issue with that claim is that it's wrong. The way that my evidence that it's wrong is that the Institute on Taxation and Economics has looked at Donald Trump's economic policy in its grandeur, all of it, and at the end of the day, with the implementation of all of his policy, every
Okay.
American making under $395,000 per year
Yeah.
loses purchasing power.
Why is that though?
Why is that? Well, A, because of the regressive impacts of his tariffs. When we charge other countries a higher percentage of a tax on their import, inevitably that's passed on to the American consumer when they're
Yes.
buying goods produced overseas or even goods produced by American companies with raw materials that are produced overseas.
Yes.
And that disproportionately negatively impacts you the less money you make.
Yeah, but
My evidence for that is that you
this
spend a greater proportion of your income on the bare necessities to live.
oh,
And then when you compile that with the fact that his tax policy disproportionately benefits the ultra wealthy, all right, we see that my point is very clear and
okay,
that
but
there is legitimate justification insofar as why the Institute of on Taxation and Economics makes the claim they do.
but do you realize that when the American people are saving more on taxes, that's the working class. Let's just say hostess and people that work overtime are more of the working class of America. And now if they're saving more on their overtime, that means more money in their pockets. We could agree on that, right?
As long as you, as long as you agree,
No,
the
I'm
macro impact of all of his
no,
economic policies that
no,
there's
I'm
less
just
money in the pockets of the average American.
yeah, I'm just asking you on this specific.
Yeah, I'll agree with that if you agree that the macro impact of all of his economic policies is less money in the pockets of the average American.
Okay, so now can we both also come to this
No,
conclusion?
can we come to the terms on that fact I just said that the macro impact of all of his economic policy is like less money in the pockets of the average American?
Oh, well, we don't know that yet because we haven't seen what the outcome of tariffs are going to be
So
because currently we're in
we do know that to the
negotiations.
highest degree that we can using predictive models from the Institute on Taxation and Economics, using historical trends alongside principles of economics. Don't act like we don't use projections to dictate the
Yeah,
outcome of a
but
policy. We all
we
use that, or at
also
least we
have.
should when voting for a candidate or talking about something that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but we're also talking about the same people who said that these tariffs, that these are the same people that said these tariffs are most certainly going to create higher inflation and also create a recession. And all of those people that said those things, with the recent reports with with the tariffs going strong, we had lower inflation at 2.3%, and also we have a surplus in the federal government's budget for the first time.
Okay, so A, you didn't talk about the recession. I find that funny. Then
No,
about inflation,
and the
it makes
recession
perfect sense that we'd have lower inflation
and
during the
JP
first
Morgan.
financial quarter of 2025. Thank you so much for pointing that out. The reason why it would make perfect sense that we'd have lower inflation because of the tariffs in the first quarter of 2025 is because we saw companies stockpiling on their imports before the implementation of the tariffs occurred in April on April 2nd, which meant that there was a larger supply of these goods. And then guess what? There's a lower demand because consumer confidence was down, so less individuals were spending money. What happens to
Okay.
equilibrium price under those pretenses? Equilibrium price goes down. So actually, it was projected that we'd see a decrease in inflation to begin with,
No,
but that
actually,
was in
that's
fact
not
an
the
indicator
case.
of a
That's
recession.
not the case. No, sir. I
Yes, it
mean,
was. I just explained to you how that was the case. Refute
no,
my reasoning.
no. I'm refuting your reasoning because the
What
same
is my
people that
reasoning?
the same people that you
No,
said,
shut the fuck up. What was my reasoning to justify that point?
whoa, calm down,
I'll calm down once you give
calm
me my
down.
reasoning to justify that point.
I'm trying to. You can't tell me to shut the
What was
fuck
the,
up and then
I
tell
will
me.
because you were talking about other people, not me.
I'm talking
I
about
want you to re-explain my
the
reasoning.
same people that you are
No, my
saying.
reasoning had nothing to do with other people. My reasoning was, and I'll repeat because you didn't hear, is that lower inflation was expected in the first quarter of 2025, caused by the threat of tariffs, because it caused American companies to stockpile imports from overseas, so they had a larger supply of their goods, as well as it caused a reduction in consumer confidence, which led to a reduction in consumer spending, meaning there was more goods that the companies could sell and less people that were buying those goods from those companies, meaning equilibrium price went down. Refute that reasoning that explains exactly why lower level of inflation in the first financial quarter of this year was to be expected.
Well, first of all, inflation is also tied to job reports and how and so many other things. So it's not just that one thing that you're referring to. Okay, so it's so many other
But it's
things.
that one thing insofar as why the
Okay,
tariffs caused the decrease in
so
inflation.
we had more jobs created in
You're pivoting.
America.
You're pivoting. You stop
No,
pivoting. No,
no,
you are
we're not
pivoting. You are
pivoting. But
pivoting. No. You are
there's
pivoting.
so
Jay, the reason that you're pivoting is because you told me my reasoning was flawed. I gave you my reasoning. Critique it. I told you exactly why the tariffs would have disinflationary impacts the first financial quarter of 2025. You told me I was wrong. Explain to me why I'm wrong. That's all. And for everybody whining in the chat, saying, oh, let him speak, stop interrupting. Yeah, I'm going to interrupt Jay every single time he pivots. Job
I'm
reports
not
have
pivoting. I'm
absolutely
trying
nothing to do with the reasons that I gave insofar as why lower levels of inflation were expected given the tariffs in the first financial quarter of 2025. I'm going to hammer that point in. I was dead on with that point. Obviously, the tariffs would have had disinflationary pressures in the first financial quarter of this year for the reasons I indicated. Prove me wrong. Feel free to unmute. But I'm being serious. I'm being serious. You told me I was wrong. Stay on topic. Don't pivot. Explain to me exactly why the reasons I gave, insofar as why lower levels of inflation were expected given tariffs in the first financial of this year, were incorrect. Go ahead and unmute. Click on your profile picture and click the icon on the mic. And keep in mind, a job report had nothing to do with my reasons. If you'd like me to repeat my reasons to
Hello?
make sure that you're responding to what you should be, just feel free to ask.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. So if I'm not really well versed on the fact that companies were really well stocked and those types of things. And if that's the case, then that's definitely a deciding factor. If you are correct on that, I give you kudos on that. If companies were smart enough to stockpile at lower rates and lower prices and have inventory during these tariff times, that was a very smart move by the American companies. That definitely would help with inflation. But also what does help with inflation, we could both agree, is that government spending has been reduced and a lot of government money and a lot of raising capital has come into our country from other countries. As you're pretty well aware that we've raised $9 trillion in the first 100 or so days of the Trump administration back into our country from businesses and countries investing into our nation. They believe that our country is stronger and a better economy than it's ever been. And we've raised $9 trillion in the first 100 days. $9 trillion. And our president currently, as you know, is in the Middle East raising capital as we speak. And making trade negotiations and Middle East securities for our military to expand. And all of these things are going to help with inflation because this is trillions of
Can I
dollars.
correct you on your lies?
Which lie in specific, sir?
Both things you just said were a lie. So you said business investment in American manufacturing industries went up, and you said federal expenditures went down. So you're wrong. So this is according to FRED. Federal expenditures for the last quarter of 2024 in America was $7.109 trillion. In the first financial quarter of 2025, it was $7.145 trillion. So federal expenditure went up. You said it went down. You lied. Now about your claim relating to investment in American industries, which that was also a lie, and you could also find this reference in FRED. Go to Google, type in FRED, investment into American manufacturing, and you'll actually see that the percentage change compared to the last quarter insofar as evaluation of investment into manufacturing was down by 4.9%.
Okay, but is it a lie that $8 trillion has been invested into our nation? I'm not saying specifically manufacturing, but I am saying that Apple is bringing manufacturing back to America. That is a fact. $500 billion was invested. Toyota is opening more manufacturing
And
companies.
see, now you're shifting the goalposts.
No. Those are manufacturing jobs.
No, but
correct?
so we'll talk about why you're wrong there too. Like for instance, about the claim of Apple. In the last 2 inaugurations, Apple's announced a $500 billion investment into their American manufacturing, and it has not
Yes.
fruitioned in any of these inaugurations. But the reason
Okay.
I'm saying that you're shifting the goalposts, and the reason why I think that you're like a very like slippery weasel at this point, was because your original claim was that federal expenditure went down and investment into
Why do
American
you
industries went
insult
up.
people out of curiosity? Why do you got to call me a slippery weasel?
Oh, yeah,
Is it
exactly,
because I'm not-
because the
is
way
it
that you're
because I'm not in front of you?
no,
Is that why you think you could
it's
talk
because
to
of the
me
way that
that
you're
way?
shifting your goalposts. Like you made
No,
the claim.
it's not. We're going
no, it is.
into the
I can make it
specifics of
very, very clear about how you're shifting the
We-
goalposts,
we
sir.
could go
We could
into
go
the
into the specifics,
specifics.
and I could demonstrate how you're shifting the goalposts.
Okay,
once
so
they,
is
right,
it
I won't be
not-
able to
is it-
demonstrate it to
is it
you.
not
Why are you
true,
interrupting me?
though?
Do you typically interrupt people when you lose a debate?
Well, no. When you insult me, I'll definitely interrupt you.
So
Actually,
I
if
was
you
just calling the
insult
shot as
me,
I see
might
it. So the
just
reason
smack you across your mouth.
I know, like men get angry when they're wrong.
Yeah,
Men
you
get
little
angry when you're
slime.
wrong. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're so
you
mad that a 20-year-old
slime.
white boy on TikTok is proving you wrong that you want to catch a charge. I get it.
20-year-old
It
white
happens
boy?
frequently. Yeah. So, anyways, to get back to the claim, you said that investment
Okay,
into
little kid.
oh yeah, this little kid is absolutely fucking dunking on you. Do I need to forcefully put the pinky into your mouth? Or are you gonna
Oh
continue to
my
yap?
gosh. Are you
I mean,
mad that I'm giving you real hardcore facts that are actually occurring?
I
Or
think
does that
that.
upset you?
So I actually
Does
think
that
that you have it
make you
wrong.
upset? Does that mean that I'm moving the
Okay.
goalposts when I'm
Oh,
telling you
you scratching
actual
up?
things that are happening?
So you're actually not telling me things that are happening. You
Yes, I
false.
am telling you.
Okay,
So
okay,
can
Jay.
you go on your little
I'm gonna
Google?
mute you for
Can
5 seconds.
you go on
5.
Google?
Sorry, you're muted. The reason you're muted is because you can't let me speak more than 2 words. You're not telling me the factual information. And you just told me to go on Google. I did. I went to Google. I typed in federal government current expenditures, FRED. Go to the website. Go to Google as you say. What do you see? Last financial quarter of 2024, $7.109 trillion spent by our federal government. First financial quarter of 2025, $7.145 trillion spent by our federal government. You actually, literally, unironically, undeniably were spreading misinformation when you made the claim that our federal expenditure has been cut, according to Google. And the reason I called you a very slippery snake and weasel was because you claimed that investment into American industries has gone up by $9 trillion. You made that claim. I proved you wrong. Investment into American industries in the first financial quarter of 2025 went down by 4.9%. Yeah, according to FRAD. So your claim was wrong. The reason I called you a weasel was because then you went on to say, oh, well, what I said is there's just $9 trillion invested. No, you said it went up by 9. It could have been $9 trillion invested in the first financial quarter of 2025. Business investment is never ending. But what matters is that it's down quarterly because of Trump's policy. So that's why you're wrong. That's why you're spreading misinformation. And that's why you're a weasel. And then you're mad because you said that you want to slap me in the face, catch a charge because a 20-year-old on TikTok proved you wrong. I get it.
Charge would be worth it, you slime.
Yeah, I get it. Stay pissed. Stay mad. I get it.
No. The charge would totally be worth it.
Yeah, you're not going to do shit. Stop off in your chest, little bro. Come on. Just debate me. Come
Yo,
on.
send the Addy, bro, and we'll see.
Yeah, Mason Mall, Junction, Colorado. Meet up any day. I've already done this with like 2 other Trump supporters. It never happens. Jay, just stop
Send
off
the
in your
Addy,
chest.
bro. I'm not like every other Trump supporter. I'll tell you that
Okay,
right now.
all right,
Anyways,
yeah.
but
Okay.
anyways, let's get back to the facts.
No. But anyway, so today is May 14th. What I want you to do right now to demonstrate to everybody watching that you're not just puffing your chest is go on Google, go to United Frontier, SpiritAirlines.com, book a plane ticket for May 21st, which is 1 week from now, to GJT, which is the Grand Junction Regional Airport, and then come back with the receipt and show it to us all.
How about you come to Cali? Why would I go to your shit state?
Yeah, there he backed down. He backed down.
How
Real
about
quick.
you come to Cali, the beautiful Golden State? I would
He
never.
backed down real quick. You literally asked for my address and I gave it to you, and you backed the fuck down. That's right, little bro.
Yeah, you gave me an airport. Okay, you gave me a fucking airport. That's not
Yeah,
your.
I gave you a place to fly to. Yep.
How brave of you!
I mean, how weaselly you of you again once again. I
How
mean,
brave of you! Oh my god!
I stood on business, dude ran.
You
So
still have
unexpected.
business. Okay, what you're doing is you're manipulating little things to fit your. What are you sucking on?
My anxiety pen, you freak.
You're the freak. What the fuck are you sucking on, dude?
My anxiety pen, my lavender and caramel.
Oh my gosh, take it easy, bro. You 20-year-old
You're
freak.
giving me a lot of anxiety right now.
Because you're a weirdo. Chill the fuck out. No one's bothering
Yeah, I mean,
you.
hey man, you wanted to touch this weirdo. You wanted to slap me on my cheek.
Oh man, now you're taking this to another level. Okay, no Diddy here, my friend. You're on your own on that plane.
Well,
Okay.
you're the one that was being very suggestive towards a 20-year-old.
You're-
How old are you?
Hey, I'm not speaking numbers with you.
How old
man.
are you?
You're creepy, bro.
How
I'm
old
not
are you?
talking with you. I'm not
How old are you?
I'm not talking numbers with you. You're kind of weird, bro.
No, for real. How old are
Kinda
you?
weird. You're kind of weird, dude. You need to take it easy, okay?
God, weird is like, the politest thing that anybody said to me all day.
Kind of weird. You're over here sucking on thin air, man. Take it easy,
It's
okay?
not thin air, it's an anxiety pin. But
Okay. All right. Well, keep sucking on your anxiety pen, bro.
I will. Thank you so much.
All right. But, and anyways, so let's get back to President Trump and how well he's doing overseas right now.
God, pivot. Fucking hell. No, address the fact that I called you out for lying about you saying that there was a reduction in federal expenditures. So let's start there.
Well, no, we're still to see because he's still inheriting a Biden administration. Okay,
Okay.
so I mean, like that's still happening. He's only 100 days into his administration, so he's inheriting our previous administration. So maybe if I could circle back next January, and if this is the same case, then I'll give you your roses. I'll be honest. I know.
You understand that you're just giving like a Republican argument insofar as why you're wrong. Like you're
No,
still
no, no, no,
disproving
no, no,
yourself
no, no,
because you
no.
did make the claim that federal expenditures went down.
Federal spending has gone down with Doge cuts and
No,
all of
no, it's no, it hasn't. Once again, let me be very clear on the numbers. Last quarter of last year, 7.109 trill. First quarter of this year, 7.145 trill. Which number is higher?
the 154 is higher.
So you just admitted it's gone up. Thanks.
Yeah, it is gone up, but can we admit that this
So
is
it's gone down, but it's gone up. Explain that one to me.
well, it's going to go down. How about that? How about we put it like that? It's going to go down.
There you go.
It's going to go down. There
It's
we
actually
go.
not true, but I mean,
But
now you have a claim that isn't just abundantly fucking wrong. That I can't
yeah,
disprove with an explicit contradiction with facts
we'll
from
see.
Fred.
We'll see. We'll see with the government shrinking and more
Teresa,
people.
thank you for the $10 over on them. I do appreciate you for the love. I
Well,
mean, now I could just disprove this claim with the facts from the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. They estimate Donald Trump's policy to cost between 10 and 15 trill. The Neil MS says they could only cut 1 trill with the use of Doge. That is their goal. So net, it's still going to go up by around 9 to 14 trill. Thank you.
okay. Well, we'll see about all of that. We'll see about all of that. We'll see
Yeah,
about all of that.
we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. No, we'll definitely see about all of that. But what I can say is that um on a tariff level, I totally agree with everything he's doing. I believe that America should be treated fairly in trade. We've been treated.
Sorry, man. I'm not going to do the tariff conversation with you. I already wasted like 30 minutes of my life just trying to purport the facts from Fred to you about federal expenditure. I'm not going to rot my brain anymore. Thank you for coming up, though.